hoist the sails high, let the solar winds blow. This cosmic sea shanty is a tale we all know. Navigating constellations, charting the unknown. With the stardust in our veins, we are never alone. From the Milky Way shores to the depths of black holes, we'll sing our sea shanty as the universe unfolds. Sail up high to the galactic sky on our moonlit voyage. We'll keep reaching high. We're sailors of the cosmos, a crew full of might. Let's sing this sea shanty under starry night's light.
Hoist the sails and let the wind guide our way. We're the spacemen sailing the cosmic bay. From Jupiter to Saturn we'll deliver our freight on our starship, sailing through the interplanetary strait. With a hardy crew and a cargo of dreams, through the nebula's mist we'll forge our own schemes. In the vastness of space where no man has been, we'll navigate, chart the unexplored galactic highway. Heave ho, mateys, upon the starry sea. We're the spacemen sailing through infinity. With our voices loud and our spirits free, we'll voyage across the celestial sea. Voyage across the celestial sea.
Ah, yes. Greetings, gents. I hope you're doing well today. Or should I say, greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this live stream. Got my ears in right. Hope everyone's doing well. Nigel, Samantha, Marcus, Slow Motion, Donald, Lord Volpex, Stephen Ward. Hope you're all doing well this morning. Anthony as well. Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. So we've seemed to have somehow gotten a more sensitive camera because of all the settings changes. So now we're getting away with a singular light. Well, singular spotlight? I can't remember what it's called. So we've got the main light and one spotlight, and we seem to be doing okay with coloration. Means less bright lights in my eyes. I'll take it. Yes. I'm doing well. Doing as well as can be. My Vulcan eyebrows are definitely growing back. My attack eyebrows. You know, your eyebrows are a bit unruly when they have their own bad hair days. Separate from each other, not even at the same time. Yeah. Settings, definitely screw with the live stream. But we cope, we move on. Why does it say 5 and that says 2? I don't know. But too much light also, I think, smooths out the features a little bit. Yes, we adapt, we overcome. Because the camera's got a auto ISO, which is a light adjuster. But I find that the more it works, the more flat the image kind of looks. So you kind of want to keep it as natural as possible, I find. But all my knowledge about camera and stuff is on the job training. Yeah. Just when the wife does the sides, I just give the eyebrows a bit of a bzzz. Seems to work fine. At least now it's only assaulting me and not innocent strangers wandering past. Nice. Yeah, I've been finding garlic quite strong these days. Don't know why. Slight change in taste after the sinus surgery. So we've settled on garlic being a bit too much. But my wife has bought several of the store-bought bolognese sauces, and it's garlic with a little bit of tomato paste, basically. Yeah, I just could use the buzzers. So, hopefully, we have a busy day of short stories. If we knock it out the park, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories to do today. 5. Just to prove that I can count with one hand. 5. And that'll put us a week ahead, up to Monday. And then hopefully tomorrow we can do another 5. Which will put us TFOS a week ahead as well. But you know me, and getting ahead on my recording just means it's a quick and easy way to, get sick, or a migraine, or technical issues, or whatever. Yeah. Well, I have to shave my nose hairs. Mainly because they were fighting with my moustache hairs. And they ended up doing the excessive tickling. The arm wrestling was a bit much between the two. Or hair wrestling. Yes, it's the roots. They're growing down instead of up. One of my relatives said that. Could have even been my dad. Can't remember. What is it today? Tuesday. Hopefully we have garbage pickup tomorrow. They've been on strike for 2 weeks. So, not good. Nice, Postmatic. It's very much appreciated. It very much is. Good morning, Jean. I hope you're doing well. So, in theatre, acting, you want half your face illuminated for dramatic storytelling. Don't think this counts because still got some illumination on both sides. The screen's illuminating this side, and the light's illuminating that side. Awesome, Gene. I'm glad you got a good night's sleep. Or evening sleep. Whatever it may haps be. Well, that's more on them than it is on me, Nigel. I do think that they are cool and chill and relaxed. But that's on them. I can take no merit from it. Alright, time to work. Some worky work. Oh yeah, that's bright. Okay. Move chat over here. So, been kind of contemplating either making the stream a little bit earlier or way later. To coincide with either the morning, my morning, premiere or the evening premiere. Nope, I don't want that. I want normal. That's not good, Gene. That your cat went missing. It's good that you had a snuggle bunny. Buddy, not bunny. Alright. I think... Nope, okay. What to say? I'm looking at this and I'm seeing single narrative. I think it is single narrative. And if it is, we just skip ahead. Yep, it's a single narrative. That was easy. Done. Step 1. Done. If only all the other steps were as easy. Right. What am I doing? Oh, teleprompter software. Right. So this is a 2-part story? Yes, it is. A longish one. This is the longish one. And then a shortish one. Right. Teleprompter software set up. Yippee-ki-yay! Motherfucker. that. I'm going to move that. Oh, yes, very dramatic. I'm going to move this down. And that up. Alrighty. Second part of which story? Gonna have to be a little bit more specific. We're talking about the bioluminescence one. Or are we talking about... What was the other one yesterday? Oh, white collar lawyer. Battle lawyer. Something bit my finger, and it appears my arm as well. I don't know whether you can see that. There's a huge knob on the top. Well, there's a huge knob behind the finger as well. But on top of the finger, there's a knob as well. It's not itchy, so it's not a mosquito bite. It's quite sore. So probably a spider bite. Good morning, Glenn. Thank you for popping past. It is very much appreciated. No. That was a singular story. It was not a series, so there isn't. As far as I know. I mean, there might be more space art type stories, but none that I can remember. I'm figuring it was a spider. No. Neither of yesterday's stories were part of a two-parter. Okay. Sure. Alright, we can update the goal. There's going to be some noises, because you can't do anything in Twitch without there being gambling noises. We're going to end the goal. And we're going to start the goal. There we go. No, Paul. I haven't seen a new one of those in years. I don't even think the author is posting anymore, to be quite honest. But we should be getting back to them in the re-TFOS eventually, because they're all done before face reveal and scrolling text. So we will get back to them. We will put some new touches onto it. I know it's not as good as a new story, but it's the best I can do. Right. Well, it depends on the spider. Some spiders in South Africa can kill you. Probably. I'm not entirely sure. But it did say 261 when I reset the goal, so I don't know. Look, the spiders that normally bite you aren't too bad. Of course, it could have been some other bug. Don't know. It wasn't it? Well, I was, but it's probably happened when I was asleep. Or I bashed my finger against something, but it doesn't feel like a bash. Yeah, funnel webs aren't fun. I mean, I think one of the biggest spiders we have is a rain spider, which is an offshoot of wolf spider. They're about this big. They bite you, it hurts, but it's not deadly. The worst is you get like a massive cluster headache and migraine. That's about it. Right. Oh, okay. Green screen. Hello. Let me sit up straight. Oh. Yeah. So a small one will be about this big, but I've seen them about that big as well. Which is only relevant if you know the size of my hand. But it's a decent size. we had we had one move into the old house, and my wife would not go anywhere near it. So we relocated it outside to annoy somebody else. Yeah, I mean, most spider bites aren't really deadly. They can cause a lot of problems, but they're not deadly. They just don't produce enough toxins, venom, whatever, to do much damage. But what they can do is they can do... there's one here called a sac spider. I don't know what the actual name is. But it's... if you get bitten, you end up with the skin rotting around the bite if you don't treat it well. So there's that sort of thing, and that happens quite a lot with spider bites. The worst ones. I mean, there are some that will kill you, but it's very, very unlikely. Yeah, I mean, they can make you sick, and you need to treat it. So, I mean, untreated, any bites can be bad. But this is nothing. This is barely an allergic reaction to this. I think also, allergic reactions is also a huge part of spider bites and the like. But I'm no entomologist. I am no doctor. I'm just some guy from a country that's not quite as bad as Australia, but we do have a bunch of animals that want to kill us. Some of them small, some of them big. Anyways, we have anybody new here? I'm not seeing anybody new, but I will still do the spiel. Right. So the story this time didn't require any voices, so we skipped that part. And we're going straight into the recording for the video. I do that with the green screen because the video editing software is a lot better at removing the green screen than OBS, which is the streaming software. So I'll record like this. I'll ignore chat. I do apologize, but you can either have a good story or me paying attention to chat. I think me doing as good well as I can on a story is better. But that is my opinion, and yeah. So for the next 10 minutes or so, I'll be focusing solely on narrating, and then I'll try and catch up with chat. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves. We have a nice community here that talk about a bunch of things, mostly models, spiders, and rotting fingers at this point, but can't complain about that. I started 2 of those things. I don't know why I'm flapping my hands like I'm going to take off. Apparently I'm in a very animated mood today. Right. Right. Okay, everything's right. We're recording video. We're recording audio. We have changed the screen. I have the teleprompter software going, and we shall remove the glasses. This is the checklist I do to try and remember to do everything so I don't have to record twice in a row, but hey, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Good morning, Thaldium. We're about to start the first story of the day. So I'd say you're just in time. Okay, on to the story. Greetings, ladies and melgents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called I Am Human, written by MWMN19. My name is Fritz, and I am a blacksmith. In my youth, I toiled away on the fields of my village. When I had a free time, move that out the way. When I had free time, my uncle would teach me the art of blacksmithing, from making and fixing tools, hooves, and the like, all the way to forging weaponry, swords, arrow tips, and spear tips. As I got older, so did my uncle, eventually passing away peacefully in his sleep. I took over his shop still not satisfied with my knowledge, I sought to learn more. I sought advice from traders and vagabonds and anything pertaining to blacksmithing. Eventually, I learned to make armor, but I had a more keen interest in moving iron, small mechanical contraptions, clocks mostly. War came and went. I fought, I killed my fellow man. I mastered archery and the sword. Yet, little did I know that my entire life led up to something bigger, something grander. Rapture, apocalypse. From the heavens descended iron beasts that rode on fire, and with impunity unleashed their wrath on men, women, and children alike. I recall the fear and uncertainty as these demons ravaged our lands. Few stood in their path, lest they perish by way of the iron rods and staffs which emitted light, punching holes in any unfortunate bastards who happens to be in its way. The wrath of God, the priests would say. At first, I believed them, for what else can this be but divine punishment? But as they quickly usurped every baron, lord, king, and emperor from every corner of God's green earth, some decided to do the unthinkable. Resist. Our weapons are nothing compared to those of these angels or demons, whatever they were. But the story spread of a young man who got up close to one of them and pierced right through the armor with a dagger, killing it. Soon, more stories, though few and far between, started to spread like whispers in the wind. These were no angels, nor were they demons. They were living beings of flesh and blood, such as you and I. That got me thinking. These were not divine artifacts they wield, but tools, much more complicated and elaborate tools, but tools nonetheless. Hence, they can be studied. As the years went by and the invaders established control, they brought with them more and more incredible tools, massive metal contraptions and wheels akin to wagons moving without beasts of burden, but some sort of internal mechanism. Not to even mention the flying metal ships which rode with the speed propelled by fire. Soon, we started learning from them how some of these things worked. They hired laborers to man these tools and use them, because these invaders, though powerful, were small in number, and their machines could not do all the work. These laborers were taught how to use them and fix them if necessary. We discovered they were unfamiliar with our home. They were trying to learn about us as much as we did about them, but for diametrically different reasons. For them, it was about total control. For us, it was how to fight them. They used a type of crystal to power their machines and weapons. If handled improperly, it would fry and burn anyone unfortunate enough to be touching it directly, or via metal touching the crystal. It was also discovered water also transmits this heat or energy if in direct contact to an... It was also discovered that water transmits this heat or energy if in direct contact to an uncovered crystal. The resistance, where every religion and creed stood together in unity for a singular goal, to kick the invaders out, needed to obtain these crystals. But they couldn't be taken directly for the aforementioned reasons. One day, someone brought me something that would change everything. One of their weapons, an iron staff, an old one from what everyone could tell. The new ones can only be used by the invaders. If any other person tries to pull the trigger, it wouldn't budge. Sorcery, some say. But I knew something beyond our scope of knowledge was at play. As a blacksmith and inventor for most of my life, they saw me as the only person who could possibly figure out how this thing worked. I was left with no other choice but to try. In total secrecy, in the depths of the forest, I toiled in a cabin with a handful of apprentices. We managed to successfully deconstruct and reconstruct the iron staff. We learned how to safely handle the crystal specifically used for the iron staff, which was small and rectangular. Unfortunately, one of my apprentices was killed by it during our research. May his soul rest well. For his death was not in vain. Man refused to have his death be in vain. And so I toiled, like in my youth, both at night and in day, studying the intricacies of the weapon. Soon, people brought me more tools to study and deconstruct. I learned more, and I imparted my knowledge on as many as I could. Soon enough, by using the very tools of the invaders and stolen crystals, I managed to make a crude and, albeit usable, iron staff. I was able to construct other more simple but useful tools as well. I was not alone in this journey. Other blacksmiths and scholars toiled to learn as much from the invaders as they could. All this hard work was not for nothing. After years of planning and preparation, we rose up. We rose up like a phoenix from the ashes. We will not be slaves and laborers for these invaders who stole our land, killed our people, and reaped what we've sown for their own gain. No, not anymore. We armed ourselves with their weapons. We took their machines and turned them against them. We invaded their fortresses and encampments. We raided their stores. The war was at first local, but quickly it spread. At first we used only their weapons, but soon learned to fly their iron beasts. Those who learned their language and script learned to use their glass orbs and windows. At first we thought we will fail, but we realized one crucial thing. For every man they killed, another two were ready to take his place. For every man they killed, another two were ready to take his place. What they had was an army with no reinforcements. The land scorched, the skies burned, the rivers ran dry, and forests were turned to ash. Cities were grinded to dust. But we knew that one day would come. It was inevitable. We would see it in their rising fear and panic. We could see it when the first among them began to surrender. I do not know if I will live to see that day, for old age is taking its toll. I know the price we will pay will be high, but we will breathe free once more, and we will turn our gaze to the heavens. We will ride the iron beasts of our own. We will ride that fire in the sky, and we will have our vengeance. I know this, for my name is Fritz, and I am human. End of story. Alrighty. Sure. Let's catch up with chat. And that is true. Mosquitoes are pure evil. And spiders eat those. And other pests as well. Ants and stuff. Thank you very much, Sir Pubat, for watching on both. It is very much appreciated. Yes, very typical. Ignoring you guys. Bad me. Naughty me. Good morning, Mike. I hope you're doing well. Fair enough, Thaldium. Fair enough. Hopefully your battery lasts. Good evening, James. Morning, James. Afternoon, James. And Paul. Yeah, Nature Apprentice is good. New Species was also very good. Yes, definitely happy, no migraine. This is definitely a good day. It's my favorite holiday. Well, mosquitoes still kill more people a year than ticks. So, it very much depends where you live. Well, hopefully it helps, Paul. Self-regulating chat. That works. Alright, let's get some work done. And noise profile reduction. Bing. And there we go. Save. What are we doing? I am human. Yeah, no. I mean, the only people that I've banned are bots, which is fair enough. The other thing is, I use the ban hammer very lightly. So somebody talking shit about me is just somebody talking shit about me. It's neither here nor there. It is the way of things. I wouldn't ban somebody for it. Unless they were spamming. I think that's possibly the only way I would ban. Fair enough, super boot. Yeah, the bot's quite bad. Alright. Move on to the next one. It's going to be a short story. It's going to be part 2 of the... Well, not part 2. This is number 2 of the video. So, both stories are too short to make it into a video, so I just put 2 together to make a bit of a longer video. M1. M3. M3. There. M1. M13, I think we'll go with M1. M10, nope, M10. Well, I'm very glad you're enjoying the stream. So, I mean, it's not a set of skills that I have specifically honed to be entertaining while on stream, but I do try. I'm glad you enjoy the voices. M10. M3. 10. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 tabs open on the this browser. Normally I have 2 browsers open with about several tabs open. One tab is just dedicated to like channel stuff. And I close a whole bunch of tabs before I start streaming. And the other browser is just for like entertainment stuff. So there's only ever like 3 or 4 open on that one. Actually, I can open it up and what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 on that browser and 6 in this browser. So a total of 10 tabs in 2 browsers. Lysandrin, good morning to you. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Well, I'm glad for the... thank you for the kind words, sir. It's very much appreciated. And we're doing M1. M3. M10. Exciting stuff. What happened? Village Scribe, thank you very, very much for the follow. It is very much appreciated. Right. Okay. Short story, not too bad. We should quickly knock this one out the park, or at least to the boundaries. Teleprompter software in place, glasses gone, stream changed, recording video, recording audio. Good night, Mike. I hope you sleep well. Hope you have fantastic dreams of whatever it is that you find fantastic. Alright, story number next. Story number 2. The Greatest Weapon of War, written by Drifty241. I was lucky enough to be placed on the directing board of the Victory Parade on Atlantis, after defeating the Srothian Confederation, largely with the support of humanity and the Orion Liberation Front. We had decided to host a Victory Parade on the colony. Naturally, it became a bit of a competition to see which species could muster the greatest weapons. The Zeptian clans can provide 500 men and an antimatter sling for the parade, I said, proud of the destructive might of the weapon. Since we're holding this just outside of New Manchester, I could pull some strings to do a live-fire demonstration. The antimatter sling was a feared piece of artillery, using small amounts of its namesake to do a sizable damage. Using small amounts of its namesake to do sizable damage. I had no doubt that it would be the greatest attraction. The Goric representative spoke next. I can arrange for 2 Revenant armor vehicles and 600 men with pulse rifles. I nearly laughed. The Revenant had been a failure at every turn, especially after its disastrous deployment at the Battle of Avric. Finally, the human representative began to speak. I was admittedly scared by what terrifying weapon they could arrange for. Their tanks were known to be the best in the Orion arm. This definitely has become a contest, hasn't it? Sighed the man. But you're all wrong. The greatest weapon of war since the dawn of time is the shovel. He bore a knowing look on his face, despite the absurdity of his joke. Real funny. Real funny. You've got the whole board laughing, I joked sarcastically. No, I'm being serious. Now the board just seemed confused at the human's actions. Let's take your antimatter sling, for example. You can mitigate its effects with a trench. What about the shockwave? I retorted. Just dig a U-shape. As for the revenant vehicle, you can just dig a ditch and put a camouflage netting over it. It'll get stuck, and sappers can destroy it. Throughout the conversation, the man hadn't lost his smile. I can tell the old species hasn't been waging war against itself for millennia. I thought for a while about what the representative had said. I suppose he was right. Every man can be given a spade and made to dig. It still felt like a weird joke, even though he had proven the effectiveness of earthworks. I decided to break the silence and play into his claim. You can't just have a load of men marching along with shovels, though, right? Though that would be quite boring in the parade, don't you think? No. I'm going to get my hands on 100 Beowulf tanks and arrange a flyover. Typical humans, giving a smart-ass answer and then just flexing anyway. Giving a smart-ass answer and then just flexing anyway. End of story. All right. Short but sweet. Okay, I was wondering where that low-level windy noise was coming from. It was the aircon. That whooshing sound. It was not my lost brain cell committing suicide, no. It was an actual whooshing sound. Right. Yeah, very much depends on the scorpion. But those things can cause some serious problem. Because they got neurotoxins. More than spiders, I think. Right. Yes, there should be 4 or 5 stories today. 5 videos. 10 stories? 9 stories. So, yes. There will be more. Good morning, Crusader. Hope you're doing well. We need the author. Alrighty. I'm going to move this over here. And 1. M1. M1? Question mark. M1! Exclamation mark. This might be a bit of a sad one. Just a warning. Just skimming through. Hello, doggy. You want up on my lap? You can't have up on my lap. What do you want? Sailor? You didn't come in here for this. No. You just came in to see if I had run away or something. Is that it? Uninterested in all the people watching you. With the assaulted tongue. You're a good boy. No, you can't fall asleep here. She's just fallen asleep. I think he's 7 or 8. It's not that. He's middle-aged. He's just fallen asleep on my chest. Not a problem, Donald. Not a problem. KO. Doesn't take a lot for this. Oh, wait. No, I didn't fall for it. Didn't fall for it. You missed. Okay. Anyways, back to work. Yeah, he's quite a chill dog. I think he was just wandering in here to see if I had food. Which, you know, is a normal search. Even though he has a full bowl, I'll have better food. Yeah, very much, very much. We normally close the door just to block some of the noise, which means they either get locked in or locked out. Yeah, I shouldn't. There's a dog bed behind the green screen, so instead of walking around the green screen to get to the dog bed, they just go underneath. They, I mean the cat and the dog. Just a mutt cat. Hawkforce, good morning. I'm feeling okay, thanks. Migraines are letting up today, so go ahead and try and get as much recordings done as we can. Also helps that we've managed to turn some of the lights off, so that helps. Two. Yeah, less pain is always good pain. The only pain is a dead pain, or something. And it's true, life is pain. But headaches and migraines have a sort of different way of hitting. I mean, I can still work if I have a sore foot or finger. But with migraines, it becomes very difficult to concentrate on bright things. So, can't really do my job. Alrighty. Beware, there are onion ninjas over that hill. Ninjas of the onion. You have been warned. You know what, onion ninjas, come back in 15 minutes. Leave the stream running, though. Gotta leave the stream running. Bigger numbers, happier algorithm. Alright, I'm gonna minimize that. We're gonna that and this. Oh, the red's from my screen. That's why. I've got a big burning skull as my background. Which is why I get a bit of the reddish look. Interesting. Not going to complain. It is what it is. And that. We're going to record. And this is a singular story. So, yeah. Okay. Greetings, ladies and melodies, and welcome to the latest edition on Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet, read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Rally, written by Dark Prince 010. As he strode through the doors of the colony hospital, Saya could hardly believe that his family's human friend was dying. Their species was short-lived, a handful of decades indicating a life long and well-lived. But it was dwarfed by humans. His grandfather, Saffon, could likely hardly have imagined that the gangly biped that he'd befriended shortly after they were both conscripted into the Regional Defense Force would be a lifelong friend. They had been enlisted to help fight back against the Tranux Enclave. Who had been making encroaching forays against stations like the colony and its nearby cluster of worlds. Lumbering slowly but surely through the halls of the hospital, Saya recalled what the humans had told him of his grandfather, and then his father, Sappho. The humans said that he had mourned his grandfather's passing, although the way in which Saya's species heralded a new generation meant that he was never truly gone. Each member of his kind carried within them the seed for the next, and released that seed with an echo of their memories and experiences for the newborn sapling. Still, the lifespan of a human meant that he could bridge that knowledge gap and give true information and retellings rather than vague intuition and fractured impressions naturally passed on. It meant that to Sappho the humans was familiar, and that was further cemented by his kind's care and attention he gave to Saya's father in that first vulnerable years of life as the alien matured and grew, the threat having long since ended. The human had been released from the armed forces and had become an adept merchant and negotiator. Sappho had joined him at his newly founded business, and together the two of them had made an impact as one of the most skilled sets of traders in the entire trade hub. But all things come to an end, and as for Sappho, his time dwindled, and Saya began to bud from his back. He emerged into again the kindly care of the human once again, the face lined in grey. At this point, the human had done something called retiring, something that Saya had to have explained to him several times before he understood as a sapling himself. He had taken on a life of leisure and hobbies and intricate work with coloured fused silica and metal, a craft the human was said was called stained glass, an ancient technique from his own world that created beautiful pieces that gleamed in the light. Saya himself had been excited to pursue his calling as a musician, becoming adept at multi-stringed and resonance instruments from his homeworld. But the last dozen times he had visited the human in the hospital bed, then only taken turn after turn for the worst. It started with an initial stumble and fall, followed by a deep sleep with only a few waking and coherent moments. It was hard to imagine such an omnipresent pillar like the human to be something mortal or temporary. And yet, as Saya turned onto the hospice wing and approached the human's door, he still felt the looming sense of dread as he realized the finality of the situation was here nonetheless. But as he reached to swipe his card at the door, Saya could hear the sound of voices within. He thought perhaps the human had guests, until he heard the musical jingling trill that he recognized as being an audio bumper snippet for one of the local newscasts. Curiosity overwhelmed him, and Saya opened the door. surprised to see the human sitting up in his bed. His skin was still thin and stretched tight over his bones, and the once thick white hair had thinned into a wispy cloud that seemed to perch upon his head. He saw him and cracked a wide smile, and said in a voice Saya hadn't expected to hear again, "Little Saya, come in. I'm glad I caught you. I realized there was something else I had wanted to tell you about." If Saya had a mouth, it would have hung open in disbelief. He had been told that the human would likely be non-responsive, near comatose until they passed. But here they were, sitting up and smiling and acting as if nothing was the matter. His heart swelled with hope as he realized this meant that the human was recovering. "I remember I was telling you about your father and grandfather," the human said with a smile and a wink. "Feels like it was just yesterday that we were talking about them." Saya didn't say anything, but it had been 2 weeks since the human had spoken at all, and 3.5 since he was coherent enough to respond to questions. Finally, hesitantly, Saya asked, "Yes, you were telling me about their hobbies?" The human smiled. "Right indeed. Your grandfather never had much time for relaxing, given how often we were on patrol. But in the few moments that he was able to catch on a bit of a break, he managed to string a small instrument made out of some scraps of shell casings and spare repair panels, along with the stripped-out wiring from a wreck we'd passed early in the deployment. Apparently, it was hard as hell to tune, but he managed to make it work a few times and string along a few tunes before he had to leave the instrument behind during a hasty withdrawal." Saya was shocked, but on some level, it didn't surprise him. It made sense that his grandfather's passion would feed through to him, and the human confirmed as much when they said that before that Sapphire had loved the frequent and the human confirmed as much when they said that before that Sapphire had loved to frequent the concert halls on their weekends, entertaining business partners there and using the music fitting the space as a conversation starter, an icebreaker for negotiations of countless contracts. "I must say that I have nearly forgotten the song that your grandfather had composed. It's one that I noticed your father would hum unconsciously at times. But when I told him of its origin, he seemed sad, and said that he had neither the skills nor the tools to make such music a reality. We were on a pretty tight budget back then, and I suspect even commissioning a musician to compose and play that piece for him would have been beyond our means. But," he said, fishing around until he pulled out a battered wind instrument the humans called a harmonica. He chuckled and said, "Your grandfather helped me to learn the tune on this back in the day. I'd forgotten I even had this blasted thing until one of the orderlies had brought in a box of my effects from my apartment, and this was sitting on top of it. And this was sitting on the top." With mounting excitement mounting, Saya said, "Would you be willing to teach it to me?" "Certainly," the human replied with a hoarse chuckle. Listening carefully, Saya privately cursed his neglect of bringing any sort of instrument along, and instead resolved to memorize as much as he could. It was a short, lilting tune, barely a few bars, but he could see the core of it could be catchy, promising something more. But the human simply grinned as it ended. "That's all he had." He laughed at the memory. "Our commanding officer was quite cross with us for making, in his words, so much damn racket that close to the enemy lines." There was a knock at the door, and the human's orderly nurse came in, claws carefully curled around a tray of food and a few unopened beverage containers. "Oh, excellent, some grub," said the human. "Apologies if I am eating in front of you," he said to Saya, whose lack of mouth and sustenance through whose lack of mouth and sustenance through photosynthesis meant that such a meal was effectively an aromatic decoration in his mind. The alien made a motion of dismissal, saying, "It's fine. It does not bother me if you eat." A chime went off on his communicator, though, and Sayer's elation fell somewhat. "Unfortunately, I must return to the transport hub so that I can make it back before my break has elapsed. "Well, it was good seeing you and reminiscing with you, my friend," said the human with a smile. "Well, mouth already full of some sort of congealed and vividly coloured clear gel. Safe travels!" "Safe travels," Sayer said in return, pulling the door shut behind him as the orderly stepped out through. However, Sayer saw the orderly's face was not one of excitement for his friend's improved condition, but instead one that Sayer recognized as a deep sadness for their species. "What's wrong? Is anything the matter?" The orderly looked at him. "Not really anything that can be changed. Not really anything that can be changed," he said, then looked to the closed door of the human's room. "I'm glad that you had a chance to talk with him. Try to make sure that you're in tomorrow for sure." Confused by the request, Sayer just made a sign of acknowledgement and returned home. That night, he was up late into the evening, fervently working on refining and extending the tune that the human had given him, originally composed by his grandfather. He was able to finish before the hours dragged too late into the evening, and slept soundly that night, thinking of how proud he would be to show the human the song. But that afternoon, as he went to the human's room, he saw that the human was still again, breathing shallow, and the vitals monitors indicating barely any signs of life within him. It was worse than he'd been even days before, and on some level, Sayer knew there were only mere hours left. The orderly was there again, and gave him a sympathetic look. I don't understand," Sayer said in frustrated sadness. "He was getting so much better." The orderly nodded with a sad smile. "That's how it often is with humans. They get better enough to be almost like their old self, with friends and family, and finish any lingering topics or questions they wanted to resolve. After that, they just kind of release and fade quickly after that point." Sayer still did not fully understand this, but did understand the importance now of what he must do. I'm not sure if you can hear me, my friend," he said, but this is for you." Shaking hands placed upon his instrument, Sayer began to strum and sing, music filling the room as the hours passed, until only silence and grief remained to fill the room. End of story. All right. Let's move to... Let me catch up with chat. Good morning, Brian. I hope you're doing well. Look, I'm sad to hear that. Hopefully the week gets better for you. Yes. Muting stuff and forgetting about it seems to be a specialty of mine. Good morning, Kandaria. I hope you're doing well. Good morning, Phoenix. Hope you're doing well. Awesome. A lazy day is a good day. No, I've been okay. Just dealing with some migraines recently. But other than that, pretty okay. No, that's fair enough, Kandaria. Every side on the green side is good, unless they, bury you under AstroTurf. Or on AstroTurf. But even then, it'll be amusing. Alrighty, gonna open up a new audio. Gonna close that. Gonna open this. Nope, this, yes. Move on to the next story. Gotta knock 'em out. Gotta go. Okay, this is going to be a 2-story video again. First a shortish one, then a longish one. Ugh. The burps are definitely attacking back. Yeah, shortish, well, longish and shortish one. Just a quick scan. Okay, we do have some chatting, so we will M1. Yeah. My grandfather was like that also. Sense of humor all the way to the end. I'm not getting buried, I am getting cooked alive. Kentucky Fried Aggro Squirrel. I mean, this is mostly a single narrative story. Okay. Pretty straightforward, mostly singular narrative, so not too many voices. And away we go. If you're talking to me, James, still not. Probably a couple of months. But we're getting there. Things are happening, which is more than what I can say with the English side of England side of stuff. All right, moving this over here, opening this, recording. All right, time for a story. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Human Gatekeeper, written by Sun Praising. Preliminary Report Experiment TMP 83-3441. Lead Scientist Galahans. Species Colgator. Further Personnel Zahanahan. Species Colgator. Scientific Assistant. As with all projects with TMP 83 series, we studied a species of sapiens with a post-mortem visual enhancer. As protocol, we used a flying drone with concealment technology for the collection of data in their habitat. Technical details are declared in Appendix 1. For context, this allows us to observe what we called gatekeepers of that species. Those are the guides that bring them to the afterlife. From sentient winds to rabid beasts. They can be anything, but usually take form as a deceased member of the species. Most often, only a skeletal or chitinous structure of them. Their behavior depends on species and may include a forceful shove, a fight, debates, or bribery, but is consistent ritual for each species with little deviation for individuals. The race in question are the humans, native to the Sol system in the Milky Way galaxy. As such, descriptions have been made in their history, culture, and art. We expect to see the standard skeletal structure, which in their culture had a black robe and a primitive cutting tool, which was the most likely candidate for the gatekeeper. Which was the most likely candidate for a gatekeeper, opposed to any other species. We did see multiple candidates for a gatekeeper amongst their medias, which all fulfilled the role of a gatekeeper. Other examinations never involved depictions of gatekeepers than exist for them. Yet those gatekeepers seem to contradict each other. As in all 440 examinations before, we entered the medical facility, as those have the highest chance for deceased subjects after arenas, which are illegal under human law as is common for most species. The first subject to meet our criteria, identified as TMP 83-3441-B, or 441-B, was a male of 46 of their years. He fell on a spike fence as part of an accident in their mobility system and was delivered to a facility with no less than 6 holes in his abdomen. Nonetheless, he was alive for more than 40 minutes after the accident. His passing caused the first opportunity to observe the human's gatekeeper, henceforth identified as TMP 83-3441-A, which is shortened to 441-A. 441-A shows itself against expectations as a seemingly healthy yet very old human man with a long white beard and grey archaic clothing. It starts the ritual of the gate by drawing the time-telling device from inside its clothes, which is not unusual for a gatekeeper to have. He then informs the soul of the deceased, which separated from its body, that his time is up, to which 442-B replied with, "Ah." Note, this may require further context. 441-B furthermore inquires if exceptions can be made to which 441-A relays, "Do I look like a charity to you, kid? Do I look like charity to you? Besides, 46 ain't bad. Besides, 46 ain't bad, and you've done a great deal in your life." Seemingly unsure, yet at least willing to continue, 441A guides him with a hand on his back to the gate. Like all gates observed before, we cannot ascertain what's beyond it. Like all gates observed before, we cannot ascertain what's behind it, and the ritual has been concluded. The second and last subject is 441-C, and an old female that has too many issues to categorize her death as anything other than old age. She was sleeping before the gatekeeper approached her with a time-turning device already drawn, this time in a form similar to the first, yet female 441. This time in a form similar to the first, yet female. 441-C's soul was able to answer 441-A without waking up with her body. Their conversation goes as follows. "Your time is up. Your time is up. Finally. What took you so long, gatekeeper?" "Your time is up. Finally. What took you so long?" Life." "I guess that's fair. But can I get a minute or two to say goodbye to my son?" I guess I can wait for 3 minutes." The vital signs of 441-C continue to worsen. Yet she wakes up. She looks around for a few seconds, seemingly dazed, until she grasps her personal device and starts speaking. Much to our surprise, the gatekeeper turned around to face us, or rather, our drone. It explicitly condemned our behavior of spying on a dying grandma, and then proceeded to smack our drone. This resulted in a severe malfunction with the power system, rendering the drone completely inoperable. After this exchange, we realized that in at least 3 seconds, 441-A had established themselves as the most anomalous gatekeeper observed by far, as it had broken the following 3 rules previously thought valid. Gatekeepers cannot interact with our world. Gatekeepers cannot influence death, only collect souls. And lastly, gatekeepers had no agency of their own beyond executing their ritual. This leads me to the following recommendation. While we could use more knowledge about their gatekeeper, I strongly advise against collecting it or contacting the humans. Despite their high constitution and resistance, they would not be worth the risks of integration. A first contact war may be likely, depending on who contacts them. Their moral values place too much importance on the individuals or principles, which would only harm the scientific efforts, which are much more significant for the Colgator Commonwealth Alliance. While at first contact war is nothing new, the collected information shows that their gatekeeper itself not only can affect the material world, but also delay death of any of his species. We may well have to fight a species that will not die, if their gatekeeper so desires. I would hesitate, if only for a single breath, before wishing our enemies such a war, and seek to avoid it with us at all costs. End of story. All right. Stop. Fair work. Cheers, Paul. Thank you for popping past. It is very much appreciated. Fair enough, sir, fair enough. But I like to think that they're different enough to warrant 2 watchings. Alrighty. Next story is going to be quite short. Minimize that, open that, move this. It's complicated. I don't think I can cope moving the mouse around. Alright. Quite a short one. I think this is also a single narrative story. And is unusual. Hamster 4. We haven't had a story by Hamster 4 in a very long time. Oop. That's what I was copying. Random stuff it should not be copying. Alright. Let me just give us a quick perusal again. Oh. Single narrative story, so I can go straight into the story mill. Crap. No. I've lost my teleprompter. It's stuck between two screens. Come on. Caught it. Right. Move you over here. Change to that. Hit the record button. Open up this. Hit the record button. And away we go. Okay. Story number 2. The Execution, written by Hamster 4. We thought that it would be a great sport to feed a human to the Karnak's Bone Ripper, and it was for the first 3 minutes. The silly hairless ape ran and dodged around the arena as bets were placed on how long the execution would take. However, the Karnax was an ambush predator, and after 5 minutes of exertion, it sat down to catch its breath. To the shock of the audience, the human walked up to the Karnax and punched it in the nose. It riled up the great beast, who rose up and began chasing the human again. The sudden activity triggered a new round of belting as onlookers sought to profit from the strange creature with an obvious death wish. Unfortunately, the chase barely lasted another minute before the great beast had to sit back down and recover. Again, the human walked up and delivered a blow to the gasping Karnax. This pattern repeated for the next 21 minutes, long after the next 4 executions were scheduled to take place. The audience looked on with horror as the human taunted and tortured the great Karnax into chasing it around the arena, savagely beating it every time it tried to stop. 38 minutes in, bruised and gasping for breath, the Karnax was now cowering from the human tormentor. From time to time, the Karnax would blindly lash out, but the human just stepped out of range, then resumed the beating. A thin coating of liquid on the human skin was the only indicator that it was exerting itself at all. The crude bone cudgels at the end of the human's limbs did little to permanently damage the Karnax, but it drove the air from the Karnax's lungs. Utterly defeated, the Karnax no longer had the energy to do anything but cover its most sensitive areas from the human's persistent violence. 45 minutes in, and the spectacle was drawing to an end. The Karnax was still alive, but barely. Most of the audience had left, their money wasted on sensible wages, made for the kill to happen within the first 8 minutes. Scheduled execution. Within the first 8 minutes of the scheduled execution time, the show they had come to see had descended to a level of wanton sadism even the mobsters running the event did not care to witness. 59 minutes. At 59 minutes, 8 seconds, the humans changed tactics and pressed its limb into the Carnax's windpipe. 59 minutes, 32 seconds. Oxygen deprivation caused the Carnax's first heart to stop beating. 59 minutes and 46 seconds, the second heart joined the first. Complete brain death occurred at 60 minutes exactly, and the arena's klaxon blared that the execution was complete. The results were recorded, and a large sum of galactic credits was transferred to one bet that had been placed for the execution lasting an unheard of 60 minutes. The arena was mostly empty by that point, but the few who stayed to witness the end of this bizarre spectacle saw the human pushing the Carnax's body to the corner of the arena before using it as a stepping stone to vault over the smooth arena walls. The few remaining onlookers fled in panic before a sentient apex predator from a distant world. The few remaining onlookers fled in panic before the sentient apex predator from a distant world. None could stand up to the Carnax bull in its prime, much less something that could dispatch one without a shield and a pulse rifle. Now, in a deserted gallery, the human stopped briefly at the betting machine to collect its winnings, before disappearing into the night. End of story. Alright, so that's video number 3 today, I think. Yes, 3. 2 more to go! I hope. The voice shall provide. Yes, that's that done. Okay. And okay. Cool. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. I shall be right back. But I shall leave you with some space shanties to keep you entertained. As soon as I can figure out what I'm doing. There we go. I shall be right back.
Vastness of space, no place like our home. Hoist the sails high, let the solar winds blow. This cosmic sea shanty is a tale we all know. Navigating constellations, charting the unknown. With the stardust in our veins, we are never alone. From the Milky Way shores to the depths of black holes, we'll sing our sea shanty as the universe unfolds. Sail up high to the galactic sky on our moonlit voyage. We'll keep reaching high. We're sailors of the cosmos, a crew full of might. Let's sing this sea shanty under starry night's light.
Hoist the sails and let the wind guide our way. We're the spacemen sailing the cosmic bay. From Jupiter to Saturn we'll deliver our freight on our starship, sailing through the interplanetary strait. With a hardy crew and a cargo of dreams, through the nebula's mist we'll forge our own schemes. In the vastness of space where no man has been, we'll navigate, chart the unexplored galactic highway. Heave ho, mateys, upon the starry sea. We're the spacemen sailing through infinity. With our voices loud and our spirits free, we'll voyage across the celestial sea. Voyage across the celestial sea.
The cycle of life continues. What goes out comes in as caffeine, so I suppose you can't complain. Yeah, I had a cut like that a while back with this multi-tool. It's a Leatherman, and it comes with a snipper. I accidentally dabbed my finger on it. It wasn't hard or anything, but holy crap did it bleed. Oh. And every time I thought I got the bleeding stopped, it would just start bleeding again. It was mocking me, I tell you, chat. Mocking me. But I showed it. Maybe. Alright. This video is going to be a 2-story again. Well, that's 2 stories. Well, that's a whole different story. Belly Master. Okay. I haven't heard from him in a while. This is a story from a year ago, so... Yeah. I bled on it. I just showed it, you know, asserted dominance over it. Yes, I'm definitely feeling. Today's feeling quite good. But my watch, I was just looking, reckons I actually got a very good night's sleep, which is unusual. So that could be why. Concentration's definitely decent today. I'm doing voices and chat. Alright. M1. 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 Noticing a trend here? I'm pretty sure it's not a single narrative story. There we go. I see somebody talking. Time for voice. Spam? Spam. Spam, spam. Spam, spam. Spam. Nope, not seeing any spam. Either the physical thing or just people spamming the chat. M3. Good morning, Simon. I hope you're doing well this morning. Thank you for popping past. It's very much appreciated. I'd much rather be the voices in somebody's head than have the voices in my head.
Sailing through the cosmos, it's my final voyage, leaving Earth behind.
F1.
Stars to my homage in the depths of space.
This name is gonna mess me up. Libernum. Labarnum. Labarnum. The Barnum effect. No.
Raising up the anchor, setting sails to the sky, bidding farewell to this world, no tears left to cry. With constellations as my compass, I'll navigate to the outer realms where my fate awaits. Oh, I'm a stargazer, drifting through the night, chasing dreams that sparkle like stars shining bright. I'll serenade the heavens with my cosmic lullaby, a space shanty melody as I say my
Bring, bring. It's my phone. I decided to leave it with my wife. But I am expecting a delivery, so... Well, I'm glad that voice makes you laugh. I do not know which voice it is off the top of my head. I think I do. But I'm glad you enjoyed. Good old Surge. Yeah, he's got a good voice. I like him. But that could be because I liked System of a Down. It's like a classically trained opera singer or something, if I remember correctly. Nope, not two, one. M1. M1. Simon. I think the voice you're talking about is M4. Just saying for interest's sake. So if somebody remembers, as long as that somebody isn't me. F1. The charismatic voice. No, it's not the charismatic voice. It's the unless you're not talking to me. I don't think you're talking to me. I'm interrupting a conversation in chat. I do apologize. Continue on. M1. M1. F1. Yeah, Voldemort's good. Yeah. He's struggling a bit at the moment, I think. I remember he was having some problems with YouTube. Fair enough, Marcus. Fair enough. What are we on? We're on 2 people. We had 8 yesterday. So just keep bashing our head against that algorithm, and at some point we're either going to die of head trauma or succeed with head trauma. No, that's F1. M1. M1. F3. Okay. That is story number 1 of this video done. We can now record it. Make all the funny noises in all the correct places, or make most of the funny noises in most of the correct places. As North of the Border says, this channel is built on good enough. So, this channel is also built on good enough. What are we doing? What are we doing? Recording over here. Right, we have teleprompter done, video recording, scene changed, audio recording. All right. And away we go. Greetings! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Experience, written by Bailey Master. Labranum looked down at the report before him. He was one of the many races in the Majesty, a plethora of beings with multitudes of different affinities and talents. He always did his best to be inclusive in his workforce that he employed, not, as some assumed, because of some mistaken bid or status, but instead due to the fact that he had simply found some beings more suitable to certain tasks than others. When he'd hired Sidqua on the manufacturing line, his competitors had cried folly, yet production was up. After bringing in Mendelov in the marketing department as a replacement for the previous expert, some had assumed it to be some sort of pity ploy. But suddenly, peer-to-peer recommendations had skyrocketed. The human before him had his latest gamble. The human before him had been his latest gamble. Her name was Loira, a classic example of her species. The conversation they'd had when she interviewed had sold him, and she'd come to work for them the very next day. She even insisted on working 6 whole hours per day. Within the week, she had done away with the decades-old clutter in the main office and converted the majority of their files to tactile filing system, perfect for him and his habits. She had smoothed over some rocky customer relations, made several small purchases that went towards heightening employee enjoyment, and in doing so, had increased productivity by some 20%. It was absurd. So when she had come into his office this morning and dropped off this estimate for the total restructuring of the system, Lebanon nearly signed off on it. Lebanon nearly signed off on it the moment it hit his desk. For one thing kept his hand from his stylus. "Lyra," he began, unsure of how to reach the topic, "were you some sort of manager at your previous position? If it's legal for me to ask, that is. You need not answer if you don't want to." Loira's mouth parted slightly, and she brushed a bit of hair back about her ear. "Well, it is illegal, but I don't mind answering. I wasn't a manager, never been one, but I suppose I would like to." Lebanon gestured at the proposal on his desk. "How did you learn to do all of this? How did you learn to do all of this? I've been working at this job since the previous owner passed it to me some 60 years ago. Why is it that you know how to optimize it so well? What taught you?" Laura looked up at the side and pursed her lips. I've worked as a maid, a nanny, a teacher, but I decided it wasn't for me. Then I went to university while working in hospitality. Once I got my degree, I worked in marketing, then as a financial advisor, and my last job was a dental assistant. I probably missed a few things, though. Lebanon gaped at her. "That is, several lifetimes worth of experience. Do humans live very long lives?" "And do humans live very long? Were the jobs all in this district as well?" Loira chuckled and waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, no. We don't live that long at all compared to you lot. I came from off-planet. This is the 3rd district I've lived in. I like it very much. I think I might stay." Lebanon slunk back in his seat, mind whirling. How many places have you lived in?" 9 or 10, I suppose." "And how old are you?" "How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?" 38. I'm a bit of an old maid, but that suits me just fine." Lebanon didn't spare processing power to figure out her lingo, discounting the human's trial period, which ended at, say, 14 to 16 years of age. That put Loira as having shifted through at least 9 living spaces and at least 7 jobs for a tentative average of a different job every 3 or so years, and different living situations every 2.5. Lebanon felt dizzy. "Isn't that exhausting? Can't you just go to the Great Directory and pick one?" "Oh, I could do that if I wanted, but I don't want to. I like seeing different places and doing different things. It's almost like a brand new lifetime when I change, with new species, new people, new work, new me." Lebanon felt a distinct sense of vertigo. He'd been living in the same place and working the same job for so long that he'd even forgotten how old he was. He couldn't imagine living a different life, though he knew it was possible. He motioned weakly at the proposal. And, how did this come about? Lyra nodded excitedly. Well, obviously I can clean, and being a maid let me see a lot of different file storage systems. When I was a nanny, I brushed up on a lot of the behavioral patterns of most commonly encountered species. Well, my teaching experience has honestly made me a bit, critical of how some employees teach their employees. I learned how to people please and brand in marketing, and I learned how to people please and brand marketing. The financial advisory should be fairly obvious, and when I was a dental assistant, I learned a lot about streamlining different processes. She rolled both her hands about her head. So, I figured that with permission, I'd take everything I'd learned and make this place a little nicer. I like it here in this district, and the people here are great. Why not try and make the place better? Lebanon sat for a moment, silent. Then for another moment. Then another. Lyra shifted, uncomfortable. Did I say something wrong? Lebanon snapped out of his calculations, regardless of what occurred here and now. His company was secure. Nothing short of a planet-wide quarantine for several years would threaten it. If he was known for anything by those in his field, it was his adventurous taste in employees and willingness to try new things. Lebanon couldn't bear to pass up the opportunity. Lyra, would you like to be promoted to manager? Her eyes grew wide. What? I thought you didn't have one. I've been made aware of my company's shortcomings. Would you like to be promoted? It comes with a pay raise and a secretary to fulfill your old position's duties. Now it was her turn to gape. I suppose so. Yes. That would be a great difficulty. Yes, that would be great, actually. Lebanon nodded and then leaned down and signed off on the proposal. You can expect the paperwork next week, and your input will be required for hiring a new secretary. Please do everything you can to make this company better. Lyra took the proposal back and held it in her chest, beaming. Thank you very much. Lyra took the proposal back and held it to her chest. Thank you very much, Lebanon. Thank you very much, Lebanon. I'll do my best. He asked one more question as she turned to leave his office. How do you do it, Lyra? Having so many different lives, moving to so many different places. She smiled halfway out the door. The hardest part is leaving. After that, it's just living. If you ever move to another planet with only a suitcase, you'll know what I mean. Lebanon muted his calls for the next half an hour. Lebanon muted his calls for the next half hour. Lebanon muted his calls for the next half an hour so that he could have silence in which to think. He looked over at the picture that had been on the office wall for as long as he could remember. It was a detailed rendition of a moon, one of the architectural wonders of the Varium, built from the inside out as a massive scientific experiment. It was currently a museum destination where one could spend years looking over the various scientific advances from hundreds of different races. Beneath it were words that had carried him through years, no, decades of work. It is only impossible until it is done. It is only impossible until it is done. Lebanon thought of the suitcase in the storage unit of his apartment, untouched since its purchase all those years ago. Maybe it was time for a little vacation. Maybe it was time for a little vacation. Pew. Hello? Why aren't you working? There you go. Let me catch up with chat. Eggs and bacon. Now I'm hungry. Alright. Done. Export. Did I export it? I did. Okay, next story. It's going to be a short one. It's going to be the second one of this video. So we're going to go back to this. And this. Alright, Maryland of Many, so this is a shared universe with all the other stories. Not quite a series, so that's why it hasn't been moved over to the series channel. And you can read them all individually, normally, without having knowledge of the previous ones. That is, at least, normally. And one. Nope. And one. And one. And one. And one. And one. And one. M5. I said that's my parking space. M1. 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 M5, M5, F1, F1, M1, Fair enough, James. Fair enough. It's always rough when that happens. M3. M3. F1. F1. M1. 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 And M1. Alrighty. Move that up here, move this over here. Start video recording, change scene. Start audio recording. Right. Time for some stories. Probably want to move this, nope, this one out the way. Story number 2. Distinguishing characteristics, written by Marilyn of Many. The hard-skinned crew stepped off the ramp onto a more rock-strewn ground than any of them had been expecting. The spaceport was on an undesirable outskirts, and there had apparently been a spill. Wherever they looked, insect-like workers picked up rocks one at a time to pile into carts. Not much progress had been made. The hover truck was still on its side, where it had made a sharp turn, and the rocks were everywhere. Even the landing spaces were a mess. The hard-skinned pilot had been forced to hover in place and use the ship's external arm to clear the ground before landing. She could have used a repulsive blaster instead, but that would have scattered the rocks against other ships. No self-respecting hardskin would be so careless. The three of them stepped carefully now, with the small mother in the lead, picking their way towards the payment terminal. Falling on this kind of surface wouldn't make a dent in their exoskeletons, but they had an image to maintain. When they passed the hover truck, they had become aware of a hubbub on the other side. Someone large was facing off with someone small, and at least one voice was raised. The workers were studiously ignoring it. With the concerned rattle of her back plates, the small mother urged the crew to stay close. They paused to assess the danger before moving further. The large yelling person was of a race that called themselves the Mighty. They were indeed large and endowed with both muscles and sharp teeth, but no one else called them that. Hardskins privately referred to them as the false armor, since despite their bluster, their large beings were protected only by thin scales, nothing truly deserving of their name. In public, the best they could bring themselves to say was the Armorlight. This particular Armorlight was shouting down at a much smaller being, one softer in all regards. There was not a single hard thing about this one, from round ears to large eyes to long flippy things that served as limbs. More than one hardskin had been known to describe these folk as those made of intestines, but it was not polite. All-tail was a better term. The all-tail crouched in front of the Armorlight, quivering limbs clustered around something that may have been a payment chit. Given the Armorlight's words, it had to be currency of some kind. "I said that's my parking space," the hulking creature growled, gesturing to the ship that the all-tail had come from. "Now, if you don't want something bad to happen to your ship, you had better pay up." The all-tail was protesting about the many empty spaces and the clear signs proclaiming them as open to the public when someone else entered the scene. Slender and armless, the being approached from one of the outbuildings wore the kind of body coverings favored by many without natural protection. The small mother's quick eyes noted a pattern on this covering that matches the one on the side of the ship, a crewmate of the all-tail. A crewmate of the all-tail, then, a somewhat mysterious one. The small mother and her crew had not met one of this race before, only heard of them. Like many isolated species, the narrow creatures called themselves a name that translated as us, not very helpful, and to the small mother's knowledge, no consensus had been reached on what would be a good name for them. So far, everyone was simply using the untranslated sound, human. The small mother had barely gotten her thoughts together to wonder if she could learn more about the race today when she saw the human do something extraordinary. It picked up one of the spilled rocks, moving it up and down as if testing its gravity, then leaned back and spun its arm in the most improbable way. The rock flew as it launched by the ship's takeoff exhaust, and it hit the Armorlight solidly in the back of the head. The hardskins instinctively curled a bit when the Armorlight roared, but its anger was not for them. "Who did that? You! How dare you!" The tirade was interrupted by a second rock, and then a third. "Ah! You'll pay for... How?" "Go shake down somebody else," shouted the human, scooping up more rocks. "I can do this all day." It didn't take the Armorlight long to decide on a tactical retreat, with the promise to return with friends who would beat the smaller creature into a smear on the ground. It stomped off, its face visibly swelling. The human stopped throwing, but didn't put the rocks down until the threat was out of sight. Only then did it hurry to check on its crewmate. Cheers of approval from the insect-like workers startled the hardskins, who joined in after a moment. It had been impressive. "Well done," shouted one worker. "He had it coming. You'll probably want to clear off, though, before he comes back with his sisters. They're bigger than he is." "No worries," the human called back. "I turned on the external cameras when I left our shuttle earlier. It'll have the recording of him trying to rob my friend here. I think we'll clear off in the direction of the local authorities." The workers were more than happy to give directions. By the sounds of it, the Armalite was something of a local pest. The human and the Alltail said their goodbyes and boarded the ship, which took off as soon as they were inside the door. The workers went back to moving rocks, without more than a glance at the wide-eyed hardskins. The small mother conferred with the others. They had information to submit for consideration in naming the new species. Humans could throw, with astonishing speed and precision. Their arms moved in ways that the hardskins could never. Could. And they were smart, too. End of story. Look, you don't want to eat a desert, and you also don't want to go walking around on a dessert. It could just be icky. Waste of food, even. A nice short story. Alright, now on to the last video for the day. It's going to be 2 stories again. Alright, record. Gonna close this. Going to close this. Gonna open this. Juggle screens around. Juggle, juggle, juggle. And then paste. Yeah, we've done 4. So this is number 5. A good productive day, if I do say so myself. And I do say so myself. All right. M1. Pretty sure there's not enough in the tank for another one after this, but I think 5 stories in a day is good. It's good, that's good. M4. F1. Okay, so this is all F1. Multi-paragraphed F1. For information's sake, stories of the predominant single voice that is my normal narration voice put a lot of strain on the old voice. More so than swapping voices, I think. It also depends on the voice I'm using. M1. F1. F1. This is almost a 10-minute story. F1. 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 M1. Alrighty, that was not hard. It was mostly 3 voices. Cool. Definitely in a groove today, chat. In a groove. Sometimes a rut, sometimes a groove. Okay. Very nice, Gene. Very nice. It's always good to get a refund. That's one of the reasons why I avoided it. It's a couple, but one of the reasons was the main character was female, so I'd have to talk in a feminine voice for extended periods of time. The chapter's also half an hour to 45 minutes long, which is a bit long for a series, for me. Alright, what are we doing? We're doing this. We're starting recording. We're hitting record here. And away we go! Story number 5 for the day. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called... This particular story is called Active Human Evolution or Adaptation. Active Human Evolution or Adaptation. Active Human Evolution or Adaptation by Captain Candy. The council was silent as the lead scientist gave his presentation on the recently discovered species, the Dawn, an insect-like species that shared traits with many other already part of the Galactic Council. As he finished his presentation, the council members prepared to move on to the next order of business. The lead scientist, however, didn't stop his presentation, instead saying, "Now, esteemed council, I will be allowing my recently taken-in protégé to give her presentation. You see, she discovered in her travels a discovery found... You see, she recently, in her travels of discovery, found another new sapient species. They haven't quite stretched out far beyond their own home planet yet. They are nonetheless incredibly interesting, but I will let Holly here give you the specifics." Thank you, Master. Esteemed Council, as my Master has said, I recently found a new race while out in travel of discovery. It was in the western part of the eastern arm, in between the second split of the arm. I was looking to explore the null space between galactic arms to gather data on rogue planets and stars. But while I was on the way, I ran into a radio signal and, curious, I decided to follow the signal to its source. Upon arriving at the edge of the system, it became apparent that this was a second-generation star system. For those unfamiliar with what that means, essentially the entire solar system was surrounded by a thin veil of plasma stemming from energized gases from the previous star to exist there. In short, There was another star that was there once, and once it blew up, the current star formed. The leftover gas is excited by the magnetic field on the current star. The leftover gas is excited by the magnetic field of the current star. Normally, systems like this cannot support life due to the excessive radiation that is held in by the layer of leftover gases. Noting this, I had my ship's computer increase the output of the energy shielding to compensate. Whatever race lived here, I was determined to find out how. Whatever they were, whatever they are, they had to be at least 100 times more radiation resistant than any other known species in the galaxy. According to the readings I was getting from the computer anyway. At first, I thought it must be a distant moon or planet in the system, far from the star and rotationally locked to one side of the star. This would mean a whole planet was between them and the radiation blasting through their system. Still, just as the ambient levels would be enough to kill 100% of all previously known species. My hypothesis was proven wrong, however. Apparently the species lived on the third planet from the star. They are carbon-based at the same as 40% of the galactic species we know of. They were in the perfect habitability zone for carbon, so this made some semblance of sense. But those close proximity to the star should have been met with anything that tried. But the close proximity to the star should have meant that anything that tried to live on this planet would be mutated and decayed into oblivion. On this point, I wasn't exactly wrong either. I wasn't entirely right, though. The things on this planet do mutate wildly, and I'm pretty sure the first cellular structure to form did as well. But the mutation caused was one that most cellular life developed anyways. It mutated to be able to replicate itself. This is odd, as normally when life forms on a planet, millions of different cells form and grow, and one of them eventually forms just the right to be able to replicate naturally. The replicating cell becomes the dominant and takes over the planet. Eventually, somewhere in the replication, a change occurs due to the environmental factors. A high iron place, a low acidity water, something happens that makes the cell's DNA shift slightly. From there, evolution as we know it occurs. Evolution for us is from generation to generation, and large evolutions take hundreds or thousands of years and cannot be done by an individual. The humans are different. Due to the high radiation, the cells there mutate wildly in a single generation in one individual cell or entity. Upon this revelation, some surprised looks and shocked gasps rang out. A race that could actively mutate and grow. Most council members imagined barely conscious blobs of flesh, wildly changing and shifting in form like eldritch horrors. But Holly cut them all off and continued. Now I know what you're all thinking, but no, they aren't some grotesque blobs of mutating flesh. Far from it. In fact, I'm just getting to the point where you will realize how incredible the humans are. Well, not just the humans, but every single species on Earth for that matter. You see, the life on this third planet from the sun learned to do something inconceivable to many of us. The life there learned to control the mutation and do something the humans call adaptation. We would all call it active evolution, though. I see some confused looks, so let me give an example. In my race, the Thorans lived in a warm environment with temperatures ranging between 70 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes, that is a large temperature range, I know. My race is rather resilient like that. Now assume that we wanted to move into an environment with temperatures of 40 to 70 degrees. We'd have to slowly go into the territory, going as far as 5 degrees below our tolerable threshold. Over time, as we did this, the children in the wombs of the mothers would adjust to itself. The children in the wombs of the mothers would adjust itself to withstand the stimuli outside. Then slowly, generation after generation, we would make our way into the new climate. It would take 3 generations and 60 years for my species to do this. The humans, though, they can tolerate temperature ranges of they can tolerate temperature ranges of, for example, -40 degrees to 120 degrees. Yes, you all heard that right. When I first saw the humans, I thought my computer malfunctioned and ran several diagnostics and rebooted it. But the numbers are correct. The reason for this is also adaptation, which is the active mutation of cellular structure and genetic makeup over the span of a creature's lifetime. Yes, active mutation during their lifetime. The human's tolerance to these temperature ranges are because they can adapt or actively evolve over the span of as long as a few years and as short as a few days. A human accustomed to 100 degrees temperature, for example, after only 5 years at maximum, After 5 years at maximum, they can be not comfortable but survive in -30 degrees to -40 degrees. Where our races would need tens of generations to adjust and adapt to conditions, humans can do it most of the time within 1, and at most in 3. Now, this is not just limited to their physical aspect, though. They are also able to adapt and adjust quickly to new technologies and ideologies due to a neurological form of this adaptability. This is something the rest of the galaxy does have, but to a much lesser degree. I'm sure all of you here are familiar with neuroplasticity, but compared to humans, the rest of us would be considered like stubborn slabs of iron in our thinking. This can be seen in some of the early first contact wars before the Council was formed. People with minds too inflexible fought tooth and claw to kill one another until only one ideology and empire remained. The humans, however, can adapt to and fit into a new culture they see as enjoyable in a matter of a generation. This shines especially bright in their development of technology. Due to the humans' high stamina and high adaptability, they developed thousands of different cultures and countries over their time of growth. Some of these countries or nations naturally were more advanced than others. But some of these less developed ones would still take part or learn the more advanced technologies. Take apart and learn more advanced technologies, something humans call reverse engineering. The empire that best exemplified this on Earth was one called Rome. This was a nation that advanced many facets of its technology, ideology, and culture by taking these in from small city-states and nations that they could conquer. This propelled them ahead of every other nation on the planet at the time in terms of technology, quality of life. This propelled them ahead of every other nation on the planet at the time in terms of technology, quality of life, quality of education, and military strength. Now, the reason I felt it necessary to surprise the Council with this new information is due to the fact that while observing them, I lost one of my drones that malfunctioned and wouldn't enter stealth mode. It was just shot down by the humans' weapons, and I fear, even as we speak, it is being reverse engineered. The drone had FTL communications, cloaking, and scanners for just about everything you can think of. It also had an emergency FTL jump drive that also, due to malfunctions, did not activate. I can only hope that this emergency FTL drive is unusable and therefore useless to reverse engineer. I doubt it. So, dear Council members, I believe that the humans will be joining the galactic community soon, within a generation, and we all need to prepare. Video of the first known mention of humans amongst galactic community. End of story. Alright, chat, I am back. Okay. Let's catch up with look, I bungle up lots of words as well, so. The reason why I said corp when I first started narrating is I worked in corporations, where corp is spelled corp, so that's the way I pronounced it. I know the spelling's different, but that's just what popped into my head. After a little while, I learned that I was pronouncing it wrong, so corrected it. Aggro doesn't stifle with German. Aggro speaks Afrikaans, which sounds like stifled German. So when Aggro reads German, he reads it in Afrikaans. That's why my German Dutch sounds very weird. Soaring Tales? Good morning. Well, afternoon now. I hope you are doing well. All right. Yeah, so Botswana hits 40 on a regular basis, which I think is 130. Somewhere around there. I don't know. My conversions are not great. But yes, my Afrikaans also sucks. I say that like I'm fluent in Afrikaans. I'm not. I have a very thick accent in Afrikaans as well. And they tried beating that out of me. Not quite literally, but semi-literally. And if they couldn't do it, then I can't do it. Alright. Alright. Active human evolution or adaptation. Sure, that should be adaptation, but whatever.
Oh, whatever. Whatever you say.
Look, some people think the way I say cobalt is funny instead of saying cobalt. So, you know, each narrator has their own things. I had to change the way I spoke because a lot of people thought that I was speaking incorrectly, where I was just speaking with a South African accent or a lower class South African accent. So a lot of words would sound mispronounced a lot of the time. But we've managed to beat that out of me. At some point we might even learn another language. Portuguese, probably. No, the mythical creature. So when I was in school, corporal punishment was not only allowed, it was encouraged. Yes, kobold. Yes. Same as chitin, is the American way of saying it. In South Africa, it's called chitin. The way it's said, the way it's written. Some of those things I've corrected, some of them I have not, because, you know, I've had a lifetime of talking, and some words just stick. My difficult one is soldier and shoulder, because my dad would intentionally mix those words up growing up, so when I say soldier, I sometimes say shoulder, because of the doing it as growing up. But seeing as most of my audience is American, might as well pronounce it the American way. Yeah, something like that. It takes a bit of like... it was a purple burglar alarm for Scottish people. That's yeah. The soldier shouldered his rifle. Is that sort of thing for me. Okay, what do we got here? M1. M1. Okay. We do have some dialogue. Wascally Wabbit. My wife has one where skeleton is Skellington, but that's from a book. Specifically a Terry Pratchett book. And Jack Skellington from the movie thing. The Grim Squeaker, my favorite character. Holy shit, that says South Africa. Why does that say so? Now I'm on edge. Why does this say South Africa? I'm not used to referencing my country. It's very weird. Making me unreasonably self-conscious. Okay. We've got South African and Scottish. It's definitely going to be a whirlwind of accents. The Irish. I think this author is just messing with me. The German. I have no German accent. Okay, let's try. The German accent. It's gonna suck. No, 20. Can't be 20. Fine. The German. German. Alright. Gonna make it up on the spot. And the German indicating the Irishman, Scotsman. I don't like this. It's going to be a pain in the ass. Okay. M20. Yes. M3. M20. Rugby at the stadium, sure. You could just say he's out watching rugby. Doesn't, well, I suppose. Okay, fine. At least they didn't ask for a South African accent. Small victories, chat. Small victories. Hans Gruber. Right. Because unfortunately, currently, the most famous South African accent would be Vickers van der Merwe from District 9, which is not my accent. That is an Afrikaans accent. That is a parody of an Afrikaans accent. And it would kick my ass. That's what it would do. It would seriously just kick my arse. But anyways. Yeah. Okay. Thankfully it's a short story. Short story. Now what are we doing? Recording video, recording audio. And away we go. Story number 2. Never challenge human. Written by Real Nectarine 7986. I Norsh the Clisporian people. I Norsh of the Clisporian people have prided myself for being the best drinking champion in the entire galaxy. Throughout the years, I have won more drinking competitions than anyone in recorded history of the Galactic Drinking Championship. Until they came. Humans are a young species, having only been members of the galactic community for around 50 years. I never believed that such a young species, so violent in war yet so friendly in peace, would be able to compete and win. Winning means they had some form of competition. Now that I think of it, they did. No, the horror, the absolute horror. I made the mistake of challenging a group of human tourists to a drinking competition in a human pub. Myself and 5 humans. And the alcoholic beverage that was used this time was something the humans called whiskey. The humans called them shots. The humans called them shots. I called them children's cups, until I learned that this whiskey kicked like a rabid beast, and the plains they call a horse. Kicked like a rabid beast of the plains they call a horse. The first to fall from the table was a human originating from some place on Earth known as South Africa at 18 shots. I didn't last long. Just one more shot than the South African, and I was feeling the pleasantly cool floor at my back. "Oh, get your arse back in the blimey seat. What, just getting started?" the human from Scotland said. The humans from Germany and Ireland nodding in agreement, whilst the human from Russia just sat there, not giving a damn. I don't know who won that competition. It definitely wasn't me or the South African. I awoke the next day to a skull-splitting headache. No, that would mean that the pain alone is what woke me up. No, that damn Scotsman had brought along an instrument of his people. Think that. It was a weapon of mass destruction, I tell you. Those bagpipes were loud, added super fuel to my already painful headache. How in the name of, how are you people all right with this racket? I asked the Irish, German, and Russian human. You better start drinking more. Last night was just a warm-up. No, that's Scottish. Hans Gruber. Think, channel Hans Gruber. Dat better. You better start drinking more. The last night was just a warm-up for those two, the German said, indicating to the Irishman and Scotsman. I myself just had a cold shower. And the Russian over there just started drinking again. And the South African? I asked him. He's out watching the rugby match at the stadium, he answered. That day, I learned a valuable lesson. Never challenge a human. It isn't good for your health. End of story. Well, they're right. Bagpipes are a weapon of mass destruction. Alrighty. Full screen. Oh. Yes, it's one of the few songs where a bagpipe does add to the song. But if you've heard bad bagpipes, then You'll never recover. That's something on my cat hair. The microphone thing needs a wash. Alright. Need to make 5 thumbnails. 2. Another brick in the wall. Well, they've got several with bagpipes in it. But they did a rendition of another brick in the wall with bagpipes. If I remember correctly. I could be mistaken. Right, 5 thumbnails. Right, move this over here. And start generating some... Imagine. I would like you to imagine, if you will, a time and space. Like that, it is not this one. Well, that one's going to be easy. This one's going to be an easy one, chat. The first thumbnail from yesterday? No, yes, yesterday. Yesterday. I didn't do a thumbnail for it. Bad me! Well, both of them were South African movies, as far as I remember. Never watched Chappie. Chappie is a bubblegum name brand. But that's spelled with a Y instead of an IE. Okay. America! Fuck yeah. America. America. Why doesn't... I'm spelling it right. America. Feck. Oop. Comma. Feck. Yeah. Exclamation mark. Spaceship with a star spangled banner paint scheme. You know your spelling's really horrendous when even AI doesn't know what you're trying to say. Yeah, that's true. Migraine was bring. Thankfully, it never amounted to anything, but I just sat in the darkness. The darkness is my friend. And then just wished for it to go away, which it did, eventually. Right, I think I can lean back a bit. I don't have to be perfectly center in the shot anymore. No! I can slouch. Gotta work on that gamer neck. Yeah, so also sitting and not having to stare at 2 bright lights in front of me helps a lot. Today I've still got a bit of a pain here, but thankfully the light on this side is off, so it is manageable. Oh, this is glorious. This is glorious, I tell you what. Glorious. Enter. V. Yeah, that is perfect. No, stop doing whatever it is I'm doing. Just push random buttons. Right, there we go. Sorry, should be America. I need to spell it correctly. Because we need to do Billy Bob proud, chat. We need to do Billy Bob proud. Whenever in doubt, whenever far from home, lost and confused, always ask yourself, what would Billy Bob do? The answer is simple. He would dance. Dance the dance. He'd read the American Bible and dance the dance of the dead. 12-3. Is that correct? No, 4. 4? What am I doing? 3. Why is my numbering off? Oh, it is 3. Okay. The Last Starfighter is pretty cool. I remember that from way back when. Okay, so that is tonight's video done. Tomorrow night is I Am Human. Greatest weapon? Question mark. Grinning soldier in the style of something. It is my pleasure, Gene. Thank you for spending your evening or day with me, with us. It's very much appreciated. That one I might remake. We'll see. I'm pretty sure that is every American ever, the Felix Paul, but I could be wrong. Thank you very much for the super chat, Toma K77. Thumbprint says it all. Enemy Mine is a decent film and recently viewed reactions to Kurt Russell film Soldier. Yeah, that was a good movie. That was an old movie. That was a good movie. I remember that. Also did Escape from New York and Los Angeles. But thank you very much for the super chat. It is very, very much appreciated. Cheers, Slow Motion. I hope you have a fantastic day. If you can't solve it with force, you didn't use enough, sounds like every mechanic I have ever met. Snake Plissken. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Look, he's in some of my most favorite movies. The Thing, Escape from Los Angeles, Escape from New York. What else was there? Soldier was pretty cool as well. I mean, he did some good stuff. Big Trouble in Little China, that was also fun. Tons of good movies from Kurt Russell. Just trying to get the perfect image. No. I know exactly what it needs to be. It needs to be that. Style of Starship Troopers. Yes, he was. And the scientist was the same in the movie and in the series, which is interesting. Right, I think we got it. The greatest weapon, question mark. All right. That is thumbnail number 2 done. We're doing 6 thumbnails. We're doing lots of thumbnails. 4. Right, next one. The rally. Ah, right. Imagine old man with hand on the shoulder of a small young alien in the style of a movie poster. Let's see what that does. Never used that prompt before. Let's see if it makes something nice. Okay. No, that's Yoda. Copyright infringement. No. Movie poster thing wasn't working, but we'll narrow it down. In the style of yeah. Wouldn't want to get in Disney's way. That one's good. This one. I like this one. All right. Three down, three to go. Yeah, Seagull is very, very not good person, from what I've heard and remember. He's also a horrible actor, an action movie person. Alright. Lost. A private moment. Dot dot dot. Dum dum dum. That's what dot 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 means. Awesome. Good morning, KGB Cowgirl. Hope you're having a fantastic morning. Definitely a very interesting username. Challenge. Lunge. Accepted. Oop, no, that's not the button I wanted. This is the button. Alrighty. That is all the thumbnails done. Many much thumbnails. Yes, many much thumbnails done. Let me move you over here, chat. Let's go to the full mode. Alrighty, we've been going for 3.5 hours. I'd like to thank you all for spending your time with me. It is very much appreciated. Hopefully, I was able to entertain you and pay for that time and consideration. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 10 a.m. GMT +2. And I hope to see you all there and hopefully drag some more people in to watch this. I hope you all have a fantastic day, whether that is sleeping, working, or something in between. And we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.